Manchester United have just drawn 0-0 with Southampton at home after a shocking decision by both Anthony Taylor and Casemiro. That's right, I think Casemiro is also to blame for the incident, and I'll explain exactly why later in the video. Look, I'm obviously very disappointed with the 2 points dropped, because after the sending off in the first half, the game became a bit of a defensive simulator, because even a bottom of the table Premier League team can turn up the heat on you when you're a man down. Now, you may look at the big chances created in this game and say, despite being down to 10 men, United deserved to win because Southampton created just one clear-cut chance and United created 2. But you would be wrong, because Southampton had so many opportunities to do better than they did. Just think what would have happened if they had a competent Premier League winger like even a Mitoma or Solly March from Brighton instead of Theo Walcott in the team today. They would have put at least 2 past us. Having watched that game and now digested the result a few hours later, I can't help but question some of Ten Hag's decision making in the game, and not just today, but in the last few months overall. So stay tuned till the end to catch all the talking points for this game. As always, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to turn on your bell notifications to never miss out on content just like this. Before I get into how both teams played today, I just want to thank you guys so much for getting me to 10k subscribers. I want to take you guys back to why I started this channel. As someone who used to consume a lot of content from fan channels and mainstream media, I always felt like there was something missing from their analysis. A lot of it was based purely on the eye test, and you didn't really get beyond the surface in terms of tactics and stats. So right around the middle of the World Cup, about 4 months ago, I decided to start creating content that addresses this gap and helps you really understand why games played out the way they did. And never in a million years would I have imagined this rate of growth for the channel or the amount of positivity that I see from you guys in the comments. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. Every single one of you have made this possible, and I honestly can't believe that even a few hundred people tune into what I have to say, let alone a few thousand. There's still a long way to go with this channel, and I hope you'll stick around for the journey. So Ten Hag went with a slightly different game plan on paper today with a 4-1-4-1 formation, and he used Jadon Sancho in midfield instead of Fred or McTominay, and his main goal here was to have more control of possession, especially in midfield areas where we have struggled to keep the ball in recent times, and give Sancho some game time to get his confidence back up. And most importantly, try Sancho in a more central role to test out the positional flexibility that he might offer moving forward. So United started in a 4-1-4-1, but played in a 3-3-1-3 that looked like this. In this shape, you had Weghorst playing as a striker, Rashford off the left and Antony off the right, and Sancho playing in that pocket between the front three where Bruno usually operates in Ten Hag's preferred system. So Bruno actually dropped into the midfield line next to Casemiro and Wan-Bissaka in this 3, and then we had Shaw, Martinez and Varane trying to build up the play from the back. Now, I'd like to spend some time to explain the differences between how Ten Hag uses Wan-Bissaka and Dalot in his system, because it seems to be a hot topic at the moment. And the game against Betis is a perfect opportunity to explain this difference because both of them played. When Dalot played in the first half, he was asked to stay in the back line of 3 next to Varane and Martinez because Ten Hag trusts him on the ball enough to play this role. And when I say on the ball, I mean he's better than Wan-Bissaka with both feet, specifically with his left foot, which offers him better passing angles when he's getting pressed by certain players. And he's better than Wan-Bissaka at long passing, like switching the play towards Rashford or playing the ball in behind for Weghorst or Antony. But the primary benefit of playing Dalot in the system is that it allows Luke Shaw to play further forward in midfield next to Casemiro or even further forward closer to Rashford. And anyone that has looked at Shaw's stats for the past several seasons will know that he's one of the best in our squad at progressing the ball up the pitch in terms of touches, progressive passes, and passes into the final third. When Wan-Bissaka came on in the second half against Betis, many of you noticed that he was playing much further forward and offered more of an attacking threat than Dalot did in the first half. And this was more tactical than you might believe, as Ten Hag played Wan-Bissaka in this role instead of this role where Dalot was playing, which meant that he was further forward and Luke Shaw had to play further back to compensate. So Wan-Bissaka had more license to get forward in the second half than Dalot did in the first half. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Dalot is better than Wan-Bissaka or the other way around. Dalot definitely doesn't look like the same player since his injury, and Wan-Bissaka has been in great form since the World Cup. But it is good for us Man United fans to have all the facts and tactics at hand before saying sell Dalot, and give Wan-Bissaka a lifetime contract. Now, we've talked a lot about Ten Hag's system, formations, and his philosophy over how he wants to use his right backs. So if you feel like you've learned anything about this team, or even something about football in general, please drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your bell notifications because it allows me to keep making content just like this. Now that we have a decent understanding of what Ten Hag expects from Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, I want to analyze the latter's performance from the game today to show you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. In our first clip, we see an example of what Wan-Bissaka is world class at. We start with Rashford on the ball in midfield on the break, and he's looking to find Sancho in behind. But as he plays the ball, it gets intercepted and played forward to Sulemana on the wing, who has Wan-Bissaka really tight to him in this area. Sulemana then tries to shake Wan-Bissaka, but he stays with him, showing good balance. And as soon as Sulemana makes some room from Wan-Bissaka, he dives in for the tackle and wins the ball. And honestly, there's nobody better in world football than Wan-Bissaka at these one-on-one battles, and especially these slide tackles here, there's just no competition. In our second clip, we see Alcaraz driving through midfield, and he beats the first man in Bruno already. As we play it along, we also see Casemiro in enough space to cross it into the box for Walcott, and luckily for United, as Walcott beats Luke Shaw over here and gets the header in, De Gea saves it and keeps it 0-0. Now you might think it's harsh for me to pick on Wan-Bissaka for one mistake, but this is a mistake that led to arguably Southampton's best chance in this game. I would have scrutinized Dalot or Shaw or Malacia equally for a mistake like this. And I don't think it's to anyone's surprise really that Wan-Bissaka's passing under pressure is poor. We've seen this before. In our third clip, we see a loose ball coming in towards Wan-Bissaka through the air, which is about to clear out towards Antony. As Antony picks it up, he plays it straight back to Wan-Bissaka, and as he has a better angle to play it out. Now we pause it here. As Wan-Bissaka is about to go for the first time pass, I want to analyze his options. Antony, Bruno, and Sancho are not really good options because they're surrounded by Southampton players who can press them as soon as they receive the ball. McTominay is potentially the best option in front of him, but that requires him to play a curled pass with his weaker left foot out in front of him with the perfect weight so that Ward-Prowse doesn't get there before McTominay does. So that's probably not a good idea. So either he boots it long or he plays it back to De Gea here just to be safe. But of course, Wan-Bissaka plays it straight to a Southampton player in the middle of the park, and they're back on the attack against United. Again, we see Wan-Bissaka giving the ball away in a really poor area when the last thing we need as 10 men is more attacks from Southampton. In our fourth clip, we see a Luke Shaw cross that's cleared by a Southampton player in this area, and the ball is about to land near Antony with Wan-Bissaka in support. Antony wins the duel, and the loose ball goes towards Wan-Bissaka. And as we play along, we see Bruno asking for the pass in front of him in this area here to avoid any Southampton player putting undue pressure on him. But Wan-Bissaka plays a straight ball directly at Bruno and leaves it short, which is intercepted by a Southampton player. And unfortunately, it starts a counterattack with Walcott clean through on goal. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, Walcott's finishing was absolutely terrible today, and it was a relatively easy shot for De Gea to save. But for the third time in this game, Wan-Bissaka gives the ball away in a poor area, and it leads to Southampton's arguably second best chance in the game, and any of these so far could have put us 1 or 2-0 down in the game. And then, funnily enough, Wan-Bissaka plays a worldly pass right at the end of the game after making all of those mistakes. We start with Shaw chasing a loose ball after a United attack in this area. Shaw plays it towards McTominay, and it takes a deflection and lands back towards Wan-Bissaka. As we play it along, without taking a look, Wan-Bissaka spins and flicks it towards the left wing, which lands perfectly into Bruno's path. And honestly, I don't know what to expect from this guy. If Kevin De Bruyne pulls off a pass like that leads to a goal, people are calling it the best assist of the season. But the overall point here is that Wan-Bissaka is not good enough on the ball for a Ten Hag side. Of course, he'll have spells in games or even entire games where his passing and distribution is good, but it's just not consistent enough. And I know that Dalot hasn't been in good form of late, but he's a better and more composed passer of the ball. Let's not forget that before the World Cup, he was undroppable in this United team. And if you ask me, based on technical abilities, Dalot suits Ten Hag more than Wan-Bissaka does. Of course, there's probably a better right back out there that's better than both of these guys. So let's see what Ten Hag decides to do in the summer. Maybe he lets one of these guys go and gets a first choice right back. So after this game, I looked into the official rules around red cards, and here's what I found. A red card means an instant dismissal from the field of play, When it comes to the length of any suspension period, it is dependent on the nature and seriousness of the foul. After a second yellow, the suspension is 1 match. For a professional foul, it is a 1-match ban as well, so I assume this refers to a professional foul on the last man. For a foul that involves dissent, so basically complaining to the ref, it's a 2-match ban. And for violent conduct, the punishment is a 3-match ban. So basically, Anthony Taylor and the VAR Andre Mariner have seen enough in that tackle by Casemiro to deem it as violent conduct, and that's why they've sent him off. And not only that, it was deemed to be a clear and obvious error from Anthony Taylor on the pitch because he already gave a yellow card for that challenge. Look, it's clear to me that some referees have an agenda against certain clubs. Just take Anthony Taylor and Chelsea as an example. But I've noticed with Anthony Taylor in particular that he loves to make games about himself. He loves to be the center of attention. He sends off Casemiro in the 34th minute and less than 10 minutes later denies United a penalty for the Bella-Kotchap handball. Where's the consistency in your decision making, man? You might think that, okay, VAR looked at it and didn't give it as a handball, so let's move on. But VAR needs a clear and obvious error to overturn on-field decisions. So if Anthony Taylor gives that as a handball on the pitch, VAR wouldn't have overturned it either. This whole system is just stupid, man. I just don't get the fairness of it, right? Like, VAR should exist, but the way these guys are deploying that system is absolutely terrible. And now, coming to Casemiro's mistakes in this situation. Look, as an experienced player who has played football for one of the biggest clubs in the world in many an El Clasico, he understands this 6-letter word better than anyone else. AGENDA, agenda. He should know that other teams, fans, and some refs have an agenda against Man United for no other reason than the fact that we're Man United. I'm sure he's experienced that with Real Madrid and La Liga as well. He should know that refs are just waiting to teach United a lesson and send him off. The worst part is now that he's been sent off for 2 straight red cards this season, both of which are arguably very soft. The first one shouldn't have existed at all, and this one was soft in my opinion. And now there'll be an even bigger agenda against him. Watch the refs pull out a magnifying glass next time and play his tackles back at super slow-mo to find ways to send him off. So Casemiro, my dude, just stop diving into tackles. That's probably the only way you can stay on the pitch from now on. I know that's really stupid advice for me, but it's the only way, man. That's the only way we can get through this. As I was planning out this video, I was initially going to show you guys 4 clips of Bruno Fernandes giving the ball away today. 2 of those instances happened before Casemiro got sent off, and in both those cases, I thought the pass was the right idea, it just didn't come off. The other 2 instances happened after we went down to 10 men, and one of them was that stupid flick he did while trying a blind pass to McTominay near the center circle. Suffice to say, both of those cases, he shouldn't have tried those passes. But then I thought to myself, why am I crucifying this man? Out of the 44 games that United have played this season, Bruno has featured in 42 of them. He missed 1 game due to a yellow card suspension versus Villa in the Premier League, and 1 because he was rested versus Charlton in the League Cup quarterfinals. This man has played 3,683 minutes out of the 3,780 that he could have, which is 97.4% of the minutes. Do you guys realize how valuable that is to someone like Ten Hag, who's trying to build something in his first season? Do you realize how valuable that is to the players around him who haven't had a good, reliable captain for years at the club? And I don't know if you guys noticed this as well. He looked absolutely shattered on the pitch in that second half today. This man is looking mentally and physically exhausted, and in my opinion, Ten Hag has to take some of the blame for this. Because United have been in crisis mode all season, having to win the next game in every game, Ten Hag has tried to use his first team 11 as much as physically possible. If you remember, he played Dalot for pretty much every game before the World Cup, and it cost Dalot with the injury that he had just now. And Christian Eriksen was also played for almost every minute, including that FA Cup tie against Reading where Andy Carroll basically sawed him in half. And even Casemiro only really got breaks because of his suspensions. So how much longer till someone like Bruno picks up an injury? What if it happens before an important game or even a final? And Ten Hag's decision to stick with the same 11 is a double-edged sword, because arguably nobody outside of Garnacho, Sancho, and Fred have gotten any first team minutes to get used to his system properly. Pellistri should have gotten more minutes. McTominay should arguably get more minutes, and Sabitzer, since signing for the club, should arguably have more minutes as well. I get it, right? The Glazers and the chief executives are to blame for the situation that Ten Hag is in because he doesn't have the tools at his disposal to achieve the things that he wants to achieve. And if Ten Hag did actually make more changes, maybe we're not in all 4 competitions. But I think Ten Hag is a manager that constantly strives for perfection. So as fans of the club and of his work, we're well within our rights to put more pressure on him to do better. And I think he can do better in terms of rotation till the end of the season. Do you guys agree? Get in the comments with your thoughts. And who was your man of the match? For me, it was Martinez because he was so composed on the ball, man. What a gem of a defender we found in the Butcher himself. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And don't forget to turn on the bell icon to never miss out on content just like this. See you guys next time.